Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. I can hear myself back. This is not good. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast preview game, which I've not done for a long time because we're playing Everton tomorrow night. So welcome to all of you in the chat room. Thank you for joining me on a weird day, I know. We normally go live on a Sunday. But I could not resist when we're playing Everton to have two of my favourite Toffees on this show. First up, to my right, left, whatever it is on there, Mr. Mr. Barry Cass from Toffee TV. Welcome back, Barry.
Well, I was going to say welcome. I mean, hello. Thank you for having me, Amanda. It's because I've just finished doing a few things myself. So, yeah, thank you for inviting me here to discuss the pain that is Everton's trip to the Emirates tomorrow night.
And one of my really good friends who's washing his hair so can't show his face tonight is Mr. Alan, I love him, Myers.
Good evening. And by the way, it's not two Toffees, it's Quality Street you've got with you tonight.
Oh, listen to you. So, boys, I've had a bit of a manic afternoon. I had to run home from work and talk to your lot up there on BBC Radio Merseyside for 10 minutes about what I think's going to happen tomorrow night. They're so lovely. They always ask me to come on. So we had a good old chat. So for anyone that wants to listen, it's on my Twitter or it's on BBC Sounds somewhere. You know, I'm not very IT-fied, but it was really great. And they said some lovely words about you, Alan.
It's very kind of them. Yeah, started my career at Radio Merseyside, and I always want to end it there as well if I can. When I get past it for TV, I'd love to end it there. You know, it's such a special place, and had some great years there, and learned a lot about everything I've ever done since. You know, so yeah, very means a lot to me. Radio Merseyside.
Oh, they were lovely about you, and very nice that they said they wanted me to come back on and talk about what I felt about this game tomorrow night. So we're going to get to it. First of all, let's say to everyone in the chat room, and I hope some Toffees do come. I have tried to advertise it on Radio Merseyside, so you do have some people in the chat room, but most of our viewers are lovely. And evening to you, Noel, as well. Right, so Barry. The last time we spoke, you invited me onto Toffee TV before Arsenal went to Goodison Park. And what did I say to you?
Yeah, you weren't overly confident, were you?
No.
Despite only losing one game all season at that point in the league, you weren't confident, and you were correct. You were correct.
Unfortunately.
Everton played. Listen, I am very honest about Everton. Everton played very well that day and deserved to win. And we've beaten Arsenal in the past where we've nicked it or we've been hanging on. But that game the other week, I'll be honest, I was a little bit disappointed we didn't win it by more, as in just to give us that last 5 minutes of being relaxed, because we know how good Arsenal are. But just that day, Everton got everything right and Arsenal were just a bit below. So it was a great result that day, but I am expecting a very different game tomorrow night at your place.
It's really strange, isn't it? Because I said to you, first of all, can't believe that you sacked Lampard before we played you. I've always said about this manager bounce and Sean Dyche. We just knew what was coming. We hadn't been on par for a couple of games. We'd got away with a few things. We hadn't been on par. We rarely do well at Goodison Park. And I just sat there and said to you, we'll be lucky if we get a draw. And you said, oh my God, I'd pray for a draw. However, Alan, when that game played, you fully deserved it. There's no doubt. I mean, we didn't turn up, but you did play very well. And I'm sure you thought maybe, Alan, that was the start of something that maybe could get you out of the relegation battle.
Yeah, we thought that. I think in that game there were a couple of early chances for Arsenal, you know, where things might have been slightly different if that had gone different. I remember a ball in the box from the left hand side, which you know Everton cleared, and it was a little bit dangerous, you know. But once the crowd got behind Everton, and once Everton had a few good good moves, and they just looked like they were at it that day, you know. And as you say, you'd come into the game a little bit under par. And I just think everything, it was almost the perfect storm for Arsenal, wasn't it? You know, everything just conspired against you, really, and everything went for Everton, which was great, you know, and the fans were lively, you know, which they have been all season. Yeah, I think we thought that was maybe the change, and you know, and things would get better. I think the last thing we needed probably was a trip to Anfield straight after that, because just like you said, you don't have a lot of joy at Everton, and I know down the years you haven't. You know, we don't have a lot of joy at Anfield, and I think that was probably the worst game we could have had second, because it sort of knocked that. You know, we're a very fragile fan base and very fragile team at the moment, and I think, you know, it doesn't take much to knock us back down. You know, and so unfortunately that was the case, really.
No, it's true, isn't it? I mean, thing is, Barry, just some grounds are just teams don't win it, do they? You're like that at Anfield, unfortunately, which is the worst for you.
Yeah.
We are a bit like that at Goodison. I'm trying to think of another ground we're like that at that's not great for us. It's mainly Goodison, actually, but
we can think of loads.
For us, yeah, we've got loads.
I'm just trying to think, but you know, I'm much more positive than I was against you when I was when I was on your Toffee TV. I'm much more positive tonight. We're playing at the Emirates. We've picked up our form. We've gone back to where we were, and I can foresee us winning. Okay, obviously I hope, because this is our game in hand on City, so it's so important. I mean, to be honest, every single game from the start of the season for us has been so important that, yeah, it's like a cup final. We've got 14 left, you know, and we're in a very different situation to you. Obviously, like, I'm buzzing, beaming, can't wait to get to the Emirates. Bazar, what's it like going to Goodison Park at the moment?
To be honest, the last couple have been fine. I think what we've seen since Dyche took over was we've seen a situation where Everton look the fitter. They're undoubtedly fitter. Training on a Monday helps, which Everton haven't been doing lots of, I believe, under the previous management. But they're well organised, and you know, we beat Leeds following the Arsenal win at home. And then on Saturday, we were the better side against Villa for until the penalty. Once the penalty goes in and we go behind, you know, we kind of were deflated, and we just don't have any goals in our team. We have no goals. Everton starting 11 on Saturday, it scored 8 goals between them. Aston Villa had Ollie Watkins and Leon Bailey had 11 between them. That was just 2 of their players, for argument's sake. So we know when we go behind, it's basically done. Especially without Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we just don't have any firepower whatsoever. And ultimately, defensively, we're not too bad, but we're absolutely woeful at the other end. So that's where we are at the minute. And you know, Sean Dyche will have a plan for tomorrow, and it'll be try and frustrate Arsenal again, and hope for a set piece. Because let's be honest, we're not really going to carve anything out during open play, because we just don't have the players in the final third. I think other areas of the team aren't too bad, but the front players just don't have a goal in them, sadly.
It's such a shame. Obviously, I want you to get stuffed tomorrow night, obviously, but then I would still like you to stay up. Alan, it must be really heartbreaking. I feel sad for fans when they're in the relegation zone. I'm not sure how I would cope, and touch wood, I've not been in this situation. I have been extremely lucky for the 50 odd years I've supported the Arsenal. Alan, do you think tomorrow night what Barry's saying right, or do you think you've got a slight chance if you do? Because when teams come to us and just actually sit back and the low block, we find it really hard to break that down. Do you think that's going to be a case tomorrow night?
No, I mean, you know, as Baz will know, you know, we're never the most confident of travellers anyway, you know, and the thing is, I think with the crowd behind us at Goodison, I think we can achieve anything. Really. I know Villa. I listened to what Baz said there about the Villa game, and other than the two mistakes really, and the fact that we couldn't put the ball in the net, we were equal to Villa, more than equal, I think, at times. And we looked in control of the game a long periods of time, but we just made two mistakes for the goals, I think. But I think the Emirates is a completely different kettle of fish. It's a big stadium. It's you can get lost in there. With as a player. If you're not on it. I mean, I go back to Highbury, obviously, and going with the team back in the 90s when when Bergkamp was playing, and it was a daunting task then. I remember I had this great conversation with Neville Southall once on the way back, and he talked about Bergkamp and how he sold him a dummy, and scored. You always won 3-1, I think, against us at Highbury. But it will be a different game. I mean, it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that you get 2-1-0 victories for Everton, because stranger things like that have happened. But that would be dreaming, I think. And I don't see us keeping you out tomorrow. That's the problem. And as Baz has already alluded to very eloquently, there ain't much down the other end. It's hard to think that Maupay was the top scorer for Brighton for the last 3 years, or the 3 years he was there. It's crazy. And I think what happened was we got Maupay mistake. We should have got Trossard. I think that was the problem. But I just don't see a threat that you would need to worry about, to be honest.
Well, I hope not. But I don't think we're going there thinking it's going to be a 6-0 thrashing or anything, because that's not how the people on this podcast feel, especially as...
We've done it before, though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that. You can have a 2-0. We don't need 6. Our goal difference doesn't need it.
The thing is, we've not got as many goals as City, and it could come down to this, especially, look, all teams moan about VAR, but if you've seen any of our recent VAR escapades in the last month or so, it's costing us points. It really is. And it's a shame because, we're all old school here. So we just had a referee and at one point only one linesman. Then they brought in 2 linesmen. So
never one linesman in my time, ever.
Oh, well, I'm older than you then. Well, I thought, was there one linesman out? I'm sure there was one at one time. Or was it always been 2? Maybe
I can't remember one linesman, to be honest.
No, it'll be 2. Come on, we'll just put that down to you being giddy because you're top of the league.
Yeah.
Let's skate over that quickly.
I can't believe it. You say that when you're top of the league. It's so weird to hear it. Yes, sorry. I was at a
game when there was only one linesman, but there's been an incident with the other one, to be fair. So,
no, I'm wrong. I know I'm old, but I'm wrong. But the thing is, we've got someone who's commented, this is how we start to feel. Robert, welcome to the show, Rob. Don't worry, Baz, you're bound to have help from the referee and VAR. They can't stand us.
Right, hang on, Robert.
That's how we feel, though.
I can assure you that you feeling that we've got a book.
Yeah.
We've got
our own VAR issues
on things that have gone on and on. And I mean, Onana got booked on Saturday for literally nothing in the first minute, which meant he couldn't put a tackle in for the rest.
Yeah.
We've had goals disallowed against Liverpool this season that the rules stated were onside, but the referee decided they weren't. We've had a goal ruled out at Ellen Road, which would have been the winner.
Yeah.
And when VAR were asked, he said, well, if the linesman wouldn't have put his flag up, we'd have given the goal. But
we've had apology letters.
We have apology letters. Yeah.
And
I have seen, don't get me wrong, I have seen some of Arsenal's. It has been a bit naughty, but we aren't the team to talk about bemoan it because we've had loads this season already.
No, and you know what? I don't feel it's only us. I'd never sit here and say this because all fans of all clubs say it. Yeah. I think we're more focused because we're going for the league.
Where you are, yeah.
I mean, and to be fair, you're trying to fight relegation, so it's even desperate for you not to have VAR. And it ruins it.
I think what me and Baz are saying, Amanda, is don't be giving it all the VAR stuff, all right?
Yeah, that's it. Don't forget, it's Live VAR Pool. That's what you want to look at. They're the team that have helped the most. Don't worry about that.
So Right, going back to tomorrow night. So we know that you're going to play a low block. We know he's going to park the bus, and it's down to us to break that down. I think it's going to go one of two ways. If it gets frustrating, possibly a 1-0 win in the last 80 minutes, that might happen. But if we do break you down and score early, it could be the game that we as Arsenal fans have been waiting for, where it's a 4 or 5. It could happen. We'll have to wait and see on that. Um, I've got a question from Carl Stark, and I was going to bring this up actually. Interested to know what Everton fans' view of Arsenal this season. Al, you've always been quite a supporter of our club. Is that because you're best mates with Kev Campbell, or the fact that you're best mates with me?
No, well, it's both really. But no, I've had a soft spot for Arsenal for many, many years. I mean, I remember some great games from like early, sort of 70s and 80s. I loved Trevor Ross. Played for both sides. I loved. Obviously, we had Martin Keown, but also I remember a game when we played and it was 2-2, and it wasn't Kenny Sampson. It was another. Can't remember the right back's name, or off the top of my head, I can't remember now. But he scored an own goal in the last couple of minutes, and at Goodison to make it 2-2. And I've never been so happy in all my life, because they're the greatest things, aren't the own goals? But it got us a draw, And so I remember, and I've always said it, and you'll know this, that Arsenal has a touch of class about it as a football club, and I think Everton are the same. There's a certain class about Arsenal and Everton. I'd probably throw Aston Villa in there as well. And there's just something about those clubs, and I've always loved playing Arsenal. I've always, despite some of the results that we've had down the years, Ian Wright, everything about the club I've always liked, and I've never had a bad feeling about playing Arsenal. But no, I mean, tomorrow will be difficult in the sense that, and I think you're dead right. I think if you score early, I think it could be a long night for Everton, because I think that there are, as I said before, we've got a fragile fan base, we've got a fragile team, you've got a fragile club at the moment, and that fragility will come out if we get a couple of goals against us early on.
Yeah, I totally get how you feel, but what's your view of us this season, Al?
Well, that was the question, wasn't it? Sorry about that.
That's right.
Yeah, listen, I've been really impressed, and I remember speaking with you, maybe I was it a couple of years ago now. I don't know how long ago it was, and we talked about Arsenal, and we talked about Arteta, and loads of people were phoning in saying you've got to get rid of him, and and all. And I remember you and I sort of saying, you've got to keep the faith with him, and I knew, because I think we got Carlo Ancelotti at the same time, and people were talking about, we got the wrong one and you got the wrong one and all the rest of it. And then, but eventually, I knew that I knew at the time that Arteta would get it right one way or another, because he's a pure football person, and you can see that coming out. I said at the time that he had a lot of, and you can see it now with Manchester United, a lot of bad eggs in the camp, and he had to clear that out first. And it's not an easy job, that, and this is why changing managers so regularly is no good to any club.
No.
And you've stayed loyal to him, and he's bringing the football, and it's really exciting. And people questioned a few months ago, well, will they crack? Will they drop back? I didn't think they would, and I didn't think you will. I don't think you will. Whether you win the league, I don't know. Because City are so good, and they can go on a run. But I think it's definitely between you two. I don't think there's any other person, any other team going to give you a run at all. But I think it'll be close, and it'll be a point or 2 points at the most between the both of you.
Well, I disagree, and I said that on Radio Merseyside.
Go on.
I think United are more of a problem for us at the
Yeah.
moment. Yep, we'll see how. I hope I'm wrong,
Okay.
because can't stand them. But I think they're playing better football and better at the moment than City. A lot of people disagree with me, and hopefully I'm wrong, because I could not stand that after this whole season of being top, to lose it to United. Can't even think about that.
I just don't think they're quite there yet, United. I think that they're getting there, but I'm not quite sure they're there yet.
I think they're coming up slowly, quietly,
Yeah.
without the media looking at them. It's all
Yeah.
Arsenal City, Arsenal City. I've
Yeah.
got this horrible feeling. I really have. Bazza, what's your view on Arsenal? I know, right. So when Arteta joined, I spoke to Al about it straight away. I've got City mates as well. I say the same thing. They all loved Arteta. Al had a very high opinion of him. I know you don't feel exactly the same, do you?
No, I've said to you before, I don't like the way he left Everton. That it kind of soiled my opinion of him at Everton, the way he behaved to leave the football club. But having said that, enough time has passed. I have made my peace with him. I think he's doing a fantastic job. I've now gone and watched All or Nothing Arsenal, which I refuse to do because I just, like I said, my issue with him ran a bit deeper than maybe other people knew what had gone on at the time. But it's done. It's done now, and he's been fabulous for Arsenal this season. I spoke to you before. I think Alan was on it as well, actually, before the 5-1 at the Emirates last season. We come on, didn't we, when we just stayed up?
Yeah.
And there was a few people in your chat, if the chat was up, who were saying Arteta out because you'd just been beaten by Newcastle and obviously just missed out on 4. And me and Alan was saying, it's progress. Look at how well he's done, where they've done, and next season, as in this one, if he can get top 4, then he's built on top of it. And I think when you watch and obviously you've watched the documentary, when you watch the documentary, you see he's a lunatic. The man's a nutter. You can see that. But he's like all, I'm not going to call him a genius, but like all people like that they're a bit mad and a bit, really, he's on the edge, isn't he? But he's fascinating, and the Aubameyang thing was brilliant. And I think Ten Hag's done exactly the same, really, with Ronaldo. They faced the biggest issue with the football club, and they've won. They've basically gone head to head, and therefore he's created this great mentality at Arsenal. I think they've been brilliant. They've surprised people because obviously I don't think anybody. I done the overlap at the start of the season before a ball was kicked with Carragher and Neville, and it was asked, could Arsenal win the league? And I don't think anybody in the room, which everyone was just like, they'll do well to get top 4, because last season they had choked a little bit, if you like, because when I watched the documentary, I've only just finished it actually, but when I watched the documentary and I really enjoyed it, you forget how it almost looked impossible for them not to finish top 4, and then stumbled, didn't get a few games and that. But he's turned that round brilliantly, so much so that he could well win the league. I think City will just have enough, but that, it's 14 games to go, so I know 13 for City, because they've been there before, and it's maintaining that thing of can we do it? But even if they finish runners up, what an unbelievable step again from 5th last season to 2nd this season, to strengthen again, which they will in the summer, to go again. So he's put Arsenal in a great position. There seems to be a real unity about Arsenal with the fans and the team. Mm-hmm. And he's very much like Pep Guardiola, who's another nutter. He's been able to kind of foster that. So that's brilliant. And Arsenal's strong again. I think they are, from a neutral perspective, they are ahead of probably where lots of people, including Mikel, thought they would be. And that's just testament to the players and to him.
And I think if I could just jump in, Amanda, just to quickly say, I think Baz mentioned the word for me, and that was progress. You could see progress all the time with him. Okay, sometimes you'd take 2 steps back to make 1 step forward, but you would see something, and that's what's been missing at Everton over the last number of years. We're just not seeing, and Evertonians only want a bit of progress. They only want to see that things are building. They don't expect to go and win trophies next year, and all the rest of it, but they just want to see progress. And that's where I think the Arsenal fans did start to see. I mean, the way he's turned, and you can see his coaching skills with Granit Xhaka, the way he's turned around, as a player. He had a lot of issues, didn't he, with the fans, and I think I think a lot of it's down to Mikel Arteta as to how he's developed and come on and done well. And there's other people in the team, he gets the best out of in different ways. And that's what I think I like about him, and he's proper serious football man, and players respond to that, they really do.
One thing I would say, Amanda, sorry for you carry on, is
this is a Toffee TV production, this now, isn't it? We're taking over, Baz.
Well, you've got to, because we're not going to win the game, so we may as well win this show. The two things that I took out of that was how strong Xhaka is, really, in terms of he comes across really well in that documentary and wanting to win and demanding things. And Arteta's done that with him and saying that slightly, like Alan said. And the other thing is, your fans are mad. Some of the comments from your fans on that show, I can't remember it ever being this bad. I'm thinking, you have won trophies all the time. Try and be an Evertonian. You know, Arsenal being unbelievable. Wenger, I know, listen, winning the league is a different thing. It's difficult. But Arsene Wenger, he had Champions League football 23 years on the run or something. It's, you know, sometimes perspectives are mad, aren't they? That people, you know, the worst it's ever been and all that, and you start laughing. But he's done a great job, and Arsenal are back up there. What a, you know, an excellent football club, like Alan said, and historical and everything else. So tremendous.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because you both know that I've supported him from the beginning.
Yeah.
I didn't understand all this Arteta out nonsense. I never got it. I could see progress. He had to slowly build the team he wanted and get rid of, as they say, the dead wood. And he's done that. And now we're paying, you know, we're watching the most amazing football I've seen in many, many years. Yet there are still fans, I call them fans, that are not happy. And yet you've just nailed it on the head, Barry. All the trophies we've won, the fact that we was in the Champions League year in, year out. Now, I just think there's a different breed of fan to when we went in the 80s.
Yeah.
Social media is absolutely massive in all of this. I know thousands of Arsenal fans now, where before I probably know a couple of hundreds over the years that I've seen at away games or just generally knew. We never had phones. We never had anything. So, you know, when Arsenal were at Highbury and we were down Avenel Road and the players were throwing their socks out the window and stuff like that, you know, we've had all that. And now I feel, and I said this on the radio, you know, when he signed Jorginho 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, there was, oh my life, there was real proper anger amongst some Arsenal fans. And I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. When a player comes to us, just give him a chance. Just give him a chance and see how he plays. Well, he's played very, very well, Jorginho, considering Partey's been out and he's back up. I think he's played absolutely fantastic for us. Trossard, correct. That's the player you should have got. He is so cool. He's great and he fits in well. Arteta fits Arsenal the way Klopp fits Liverpool and the way Pep fits City. We finally got a manager that fits us, and that, you know, is the basis of what you need to build on what you need to build on. Did I think that we would be top come the 28th of February, talking to you two? Never in a million years. I was just praying we were in the top 4. Because it was heartbreaking to lose to Tottenham last year and they get fourth. But I remember sitting there saying, sometimes things happen for a reason. You know, we weren't ready for Champions League. Maybe we'll go and win the Europa and get top 4. I could never sit here and say that I thought we would be first. Apparently, we've been first since the end of August, apart from 3 days. I mean, that is incredible. Incredible for us. I'm just going to go to a few questions. Simon Lester. Hi, Simon. Thanks for coming in the chat room. How do the lads feel about the constant manager changes at Everton? It's difficult to build anything with so much change and instability. Al?
Well, I mean, first of all, is the cost of the, you know, the what do they call them? The swinging doors at the training ground. You know, that was too much to pay for. But no, listen, it's just, I think it's maybe with one exception in Chelsea over the years, but the surefire sign of a club not in a good place is a constant change of managers. You know, it's as simple as that. Like I say, Chelsea had a certain sort of way of working where...
Al, sorry, there's just quite a bit of background noise behind you. Yeah. We can't really hear you.
That's not me. No, I don't know.
Oh, is it you, Barry?
No, I can hear him. Perfect.
It's not me. That's weird, but I can hear separate voices.
It's like
in
someone
the background.
doing the dishes.
Yes.
It sounds like somebody's doing the dishes,
Is that
but
not
definitely
you?
not me. Nobody's doing the dishes here.
And my hands are here. I'm not doing the dishes.
I've done
Okay,
the
go on.
dishes,
Sorry, I
but
thought it
I'm
was
not
you,
doing
Al.
them now. Yeah, no, and forgot what I was saying now. What was I talking about? Yeah, and I think
Managers.
the fact that as I say, Chelsea was a bit different. That what they did, they almost topped up their managers, if you like. It was, it was a different thing altogether. You can't compare the likes. But when you're in a situation, we've got a situation now where we have a squad of players who are from maybe 7 different managers, and that will never be successful, no matter what. You've got to have a time where a manager gets his own players, knows what those players are for, and which positions he wants them in the team. And we haven't got that. What's happening now is the last 3 or 4 managers have had to fit certain players into places where they don't really want to put them, and that's what you've got. It's a mess at Everton. There's no other way to describe it in that respect. And what happens is it snowballs, and one probably compounds daily, as to one problem causes another 4, and that's where you've got to. I've always said in football, a downward spiral is the hardest thing in football to deal with. You can come up, you see, like, when Newcastle were relegated and they came up, and they can build on things, and it's easier. But when you're sort of on a downward spiral, it's really difficult to try and manage those things, because there's so many different aspects come into it. But no, I think they've got to stop it, and I think they've got to try and give a manager. But as we've just been talking about with Arteta, managers don't get that time, and often, the fans, whether we like to know it or not, the fans dictate really, when a manager goes, because they're not happy with the football, and in the end, that's what happens. But we've got to find a way somehow of getting a bit of stability with a manager and letting them build something.
Yeah, I agree. Al, just mute a second.
Yeah.
That's really bizarre.
Someone's now talking in my house. Hang on a sec.
That is so weird.
One sec.
I can hear people washing dishes. How?
Shush. Hey, shut up out there.
Is it your house, Baz?
Yeah, it's gone now. They've been
So it
told.
was your house. Oh,
Tell you
so
what,
weird.
No, there's no. They've only just come in. That's why I could hear
I
them.
wouldn't
That's
like.
so weird. I
wouldn't
can hear
like to be in
people
Baz's
doing
house
pots
getting
and
told
pans.
off.
Anyway, moving on. So do you feel the same way, Barry?
Yeah, listen, as Simon said, it is difficult to build anything when you're changing things. I think the problem is at times Everton have had to get rid of the manager because you understand when things are going one way and you don't see any change. The easiest person to change is the manager. There might be 25 players. You can't sell 25 players, so you change the manager. But with that, like Alan says, is you have a Frankenstein squad. You got a manager trying to look after 7 other managers' players, and it's just so difficult. Football's just so difficult to operate that way. We just talked about Mikel Arteta. Well, he's been able to build because he's been given time. He's been given time because he got some results. Yes, there was a little bit of should we stick with him or shouldn't we at times. They have stuck with him, and he's been able to get results. And that's all you can do. Results buy you time, which is the most precious thing in football. And then from that, you can build. However, you have to get the right person in. And, I really like Emery. I thought he was brilliant at Seville. He didn't really work at PSG, but, Arsenal, would it have worked there if he'd have got longer? Maybe, but did he really fit the club? There was issues after Wenger and all that. That's the problem, but he's still a good manager, but you have to get the right man. And Arteta, you said before, that's the right fit for Arsenal right now. Everton found the right fit for Everton since Bashiri took over? Probably not, and that's been the issue. Whether Sean Dyche is, only time will tell.
Okay.
But I think on top of that though, with Everton, is that you have to look at the managers we brought in, and there is virtually, if you wanted to line up a different array of different types of managers, you couldn't do a better lineup than Everton's managers. They've had everything. They've had the young up and coming, they've had the experience, they've had the Champions League winner, they've had, you name it, they've had it. And so you have to then look and think, well, all of those managers can't be wrong. Something else is wrong at the club.
I was going to ask you that.
Well, my feeling is the culture is wrong at the club. Whoever is to blame for that, I don't know.
The owner.
But ultimately it goes to the top, doesn't it? But there is a culture, which is wrong clearly, and it doesn't need me to tell people that. You just have to look at the league positions.
I'm gonna have to kill people. Carry on talking while I just go and
go for it.
To shut up. Apologies.
But you don't
mute
have
yourself
to,
before you do. Go on now.
You don't have to ask me, and you just have to look at the results and look where the club is and look what's happened, and look that there's the last 3 games is protests in the street. It doesn't need me to tell people that that's a problem. That's not rocket science. But going back to the manager's situation, Amanda, you mentioned it before. You talked about it briefly. Is that football today is about each game. You 1 minute you're on a high, next, and we've seen it over the last couple of weeks. The fan base was on a high, after the Arsenal game, and then on the Liverpool game, it was back on the floor. We beat Leeds, it was back up again. We were going to do this, that, and the other, and then we got beat by Aston Villa. Because of social media now, this game is week by week, and and Arteta suffered for that as well, because it's just the way. What we've done is we've social media is the window that should never really have been opened, but it's open now, so we have to deal with it, and we have to. Everybody has a voice, and those voices get heard. I often in my business I get people saying, "Oh, it's just 1 or 2 on social media." It isn't. No. Social media now dictates the news. There's no 2 ways about it. It dictates what even journalists think now, that journalists look at social media and see how those trends are going, so that's a lot of pressure. So you don't need a lot of strife within a football club to load the pressure on, from everywhere else. And that's what we've got at Everton. And it's just, it is, I don't know what it's going to take to change it. I have my ideas, which I'll keep to myself, but but it's going to have to take something drastic, I think, to change it round.
Got a few Toffees in the chat room. I can see Everton need a massive reset. Owners and board. Welcome, Noel. I gather you're a Toffee. We've got, and I want the big question that people keep asking, and Noel said this as well. Barry, Al, do you feel the worst this year, and can you see us bouncing back up if we drop? We've got a few Arsenal fans asking this as well. Do you think you're going down, Barry?
If we don't solve our goal scoring issue, then how can you stay up? The lowest goal scorers in the Premier League have gone down for the last 5 seasons. The last team to stay up who were the lowest goal scorers were Huddersfield Town in 16, 17. They stayed up with 28 goals. Everton have scored 17 goals. And there's 14 games to go, which means 11 goals in 14 games. Well, we'll do well to do that. So right now, it's going to be touch and go. Because we just can't score. Like I said, defensively, we're not too bad, but offensively, we are shocking, and that's a failing of the football club.
Yeah, there's not enough goals coming from midfield either, is there? Midfielders there who should be getting more goals. There's no 2 ways about it. And that hasn't happened. I expect more off Iwobi actually as a player that I like, and a player who's got a lot of energy, and him well, Amanda. He should be scoring more goals, I think. Okay, Garner was never really a goal scorer, even when he was with us before. Anana, I think, probably should be putting getting in there a bit more. But Barry's right. If we don't solve it, is a real concern. I mean, Barry will remember this as well, but I go back to the time when I was at the club in the 90s when we were sort of 10 minutes away from relegation. Never mind, so many games. In my mind, there's miles and miles to go before we need to really worry about it. But the fact is, we do need to worry about it, because I don't see where those wins are coming from, because of exactly what Baz has said. The goals are not coming, and you've got to score goals to win games. It's a simple.
We need a Kevin Campbell.
Yeah, we do.
There isn't any around.
Come and save the day.
I'd take Kevin Campbell now.
Yeah, I would. He's better than Mopay, that's for sure. Still.
Soph, welcome to the show. Soph and I talk on Twitter. I think it's over. We are gone. No striker, no goals. I also think Arsenal win the title. Odegaard is class. Thank you,
Odegaard
Sophie.
is class.
He's in my FPL team.
Oh, is he now?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he is. Yeah, but no, I mean, you know what? Just to finish on Everton in that respect, you know, look, there's a long way to go. There's a lot of points to still play for, and it can turn round, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, there is a real worry with Everton fans, and it is genuine, and you know, people try and discount that, you know, but people are genuinely concerned because I'll tell you now, for any Evertonian listener and Arsenal fans as well, the thing of Everton going down is just not something. It's just not palatable. Because it will be an absolute disaster if Everton go down. And we, you know, we as a football club, I know us and Arsenal have been the longest two serving top flight teams, you know, but we have no divine right to stay in the top flight. You know, you've got to earn that. But where Everton are financially and just the position they are as a club, if Everton were to go down, it would be Armageddon for me as a football club. We would not come straight back up. So we can't think that we need to reset.
Al, let me just interrupt you there because Rob said if Everton were to be relegated, which I hope not, do you think there is a possibility Everton become a yo-yo club, or would it be one season in the Championship and that's it? So you're alluding to you don't think that would be it. You think what? You wouldn't come up straight back?
I just think that no, I don't think we would. I think that, you know, we're such in a precarious place at the moment financially that I think we have to, you know, we really, really, really need to stay in the Premier League, you know, because, you know, the chaos that ensues, and, you know, I talked before about a downward spiral, the chaos that ensues when you go down. I've seen it, you know, I worked at a club that happened to, and, you know, in Blackburn Rovers, and you saw the mess that, and that wasn't really in a mess, to be honest, you know, but you saw with contracts with players, with, you know, the whole thing is just a nightmare. And the bigger the club is, the harder they fall, you know, and you've seen that with the likes of Leeds United, the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, you know, even the likes of Birmingham and clubs like that. You see what's happened to them in the past, and I think Everton would be the biggest team to go out of the Premier League since it started, in my opinion. And I don't mean that in a big-headed way or anything. I just think it would be, you know, because they've been in the top flight for so long.
Yeah. Barry, anything to add to that?
I don't quite see it the same way. I think Everton had come straight back up. I think the Championship, Burnley, one of the worst teams I've ever seen last season, and they've won. They're up. They were dreadful. And they're walking the Championship, and there's some really poor sides in that Championship. Norwich do it every year. I understand Alan's point, by the way. We'd lose Jordan Pickford, Onana would go. And to be three, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I imagine, would be part of a fire sale. We'd have to hope that the lads like Ellis Sims, who's got 1 and 2 in the Championship this season, and Tom Cannon, who's playing for Preston at the moment, they would be basically our players who would have to get us up. But conversely, Alan could be right. We could end up like.
I just think, Baz, you know, like, you know, when you look at certain clubs who go down, you know, they're almost sort of made to go down, if that makes sense. You know, you look at Norwich and you look at, you know, and that's why I think Aston Villa struggled for a few years. You know, I know Newcastle come straight back, but you know, they've been down recently, haven't they, as well, Newcastle? But, you know, I think you can almost be ready to go down if you like.
Oh yeah,
you know?
no, I do. Yeah, I understand.
Whereas I don't think we are. I don't think we're in a position as a club, you know, to go down, and that's what worries me. And I think that the breakup of it would be too great to get any sort of stability. To, you know, Burnley have done great, but Burnley didn't have a massive clear out in, and okay, they had a few players go, obviously, but not a massive change in personnel. You know, yeah, we got 2 of them. But like, and I think, you know, Vincent Kompany has made a massive difference there, you know, and so, you know, with the right manager, I mean, you know, Sean Dyche, but I just don't want to even contemplate it.
No.
You know, I just can't contemplate it, to be honest.
So Soph said again, I think we have a decent chance of getting back up due to Dyche knowing the league so well and smashing it with Burnley.
Yep.
But Alan is right. There would be financial Armageddon.
You get 1 year for it. If you don't get up in that first year, Alan's absolutely right. You're in.
Yeah.
So it is almost one. You've got one crack at it, and you have to get it right. And the teams who have come back up have got it right. But Alan's right. Everton would be the biggest club ever to be relegated from the Premier League.
Noel saying, report I read indicated any player earning over 35k a week would have to go if relegated. I mean, look, we're not at that stage yet. You've still, what have you, 13 games or 14 games
14
to go?
You do get an adjustment period though on that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not like you don't go into all the EFL. I can't even believe I'm talking about this.
No,
but you don't go into the EFL with the same rules as other EFL teams, you know, because you have a transition period, you know. Which anyway, we're not going there, so don't worry about that.
No, so let's hope that we beat all the teams that are around you,
and
obviously,
help us,
and you tomorrow.
Yes.
But I'm outnumbered on this podcast.
You are.
Barry, what's your prediction?
2-1 tomorrow?
It'll be nice. Be nice, yeah.
What's your prediction for tomorrow?
As much as I want to be hopeful and I'm hoping for miracles, I think a 2-0 scoreline is not a bad result for Everton tomorrow. I think we play Forest on Sunday away, and that's a huge game. If Everton could win there, that pulls Forest right into trouble. And I'm not convinced they can get out of it if they get pulled back into that mess. So Everton, I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal, a comfortable win for Arsenal tomorrow. That's what I'm going for.
Al?
Well, do you know what, PG? I actually think that you hit it completely right before. It'll either be a 1-0, you'll get frustrated till the 75th minute or the 78th minute or something and score a goal. Or if you get an early goal, it could be 3 or 4-0.
Yeah, it could be a long night.
Yeah, it could be a long night. But, listen, you've got to go there and to the Emirates with the belief, that you can get a win. You've done it a few weeks ago. There's no reason why you can't go and believe that you can get another 1-0 win or whatever, or even a draw. But do I think we will? No. But that's just the way we are.
Well, one of your supporters thinks you're going to get a draw. A comment from Simon. I hope you don't go down, lads.
Sean Dyche, is it?
Sean Dyche.
In disguise. I hope you don't go down, lads. I work with many match-going Everton fans and they're great people. Look, as a club, you've got a lot of history and a lot of, how can I put this? Like there is an aura about your club as a little bit like the Arsenal in a way, where it is a big club. In the 80s, you were, Barry, you were winning leagues.
When the Premier League started, we were the second. We'd won the league the second most times. Then it was you.
Was it? Okay. That's a stat
and then
for
that's
everybody.
it. Well, yeah, here's another stat for you. Arsenal have beaten Everton 99 times. So they'll be the first team ever to beat an opposition team 100 times if they win tomorrow.
If we win tomorrow. Oh, wow. Okay.
Thanks for that, Baz.
Well, you've just got to put it out there, haven't you? It's just a fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what I will say is Everton have beaten Arsenal 4 times in the last 5 games, which is longer than they had done in the previous, whatever it is.
I'm looking at the table and I'm no joke to this, yeah. I watched Chelsea Spurs and I've watched Chelsea a few times in the last few weeks. I know this sounds a bit mad, but I can see them being dragged in. They can't score. They can't win games. And they are on 31 points.
I need them to win on Saturday, Amanda, because they're playing Leeds. So Potter better get his act together, bloody Harry, on Saturday and get
Chelsea
a result.
will come good, I promise you.
They've got too many good players.
I don't know about that.
They've got us in a couple of weeks, that's for sure.
Yeah, they've got us as well, so they'll be all right.
When Graham Potter went to Chelsea, I said to my Chelsea fan, it doesn't work for me there. He just doesn't work for me there. Good manager, but don't think he should have left where he was. However, it could be another Arteta turnaround. In a year's time, he could be progressing. They, in a weird way, they got Mudryk and we got Trossard because we were in for Mudryk by the sounds of it. Who knows? And then we missed out the last moments, and then we got Trossard. I'm very happy with Trossard. Mudryk doesn't look happy at Stamford Bridge. That's all I'm going to say. So, boys, I'm going for a 2-0 win, actually. I predicted 1-0 on Saturday, and obviously correct.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Weird for me. I'm hoping for the 100th game against you. Oh, I love you too, and I don't want to say it, but obviously it's so important that we win. But again, it's important you win because you've got to start getting points on the board. I know that. It's tough because you're not, I'm buzzy, happy, and you're down in the doldrums. But there's I'm looking at the table. There's quite a few teams around you. You're not far, Forest, even Palace. Palace, Forest, Leicester, Wolves, West Ham, Leeds. Obviously, you're in the bottom three. You just got to pull some wins out somewhere after tomorrow, haven't you?
It's just goals. If we could score goals, I'd say we'll get out of it. If it, a year ago, even though Frank Lampard made it harder for us and the players did, we had Richarlison and we had Dominic Calvert-Lewin, so there was goals around. Whereas just right now, we haven't got the goals. That's the worry. If we had someone who could put the ball in the net, I'd think, yeah, we'll be all right. That's my only worry. If Everton can find goals, they'll be okay.
Personally, I think it's between Everton, Leeds, and Forest for the last position. I can see Southampton and Bournemouth. I just don't think Southampton can get a run together, and when you're down there at the bottom, it's very difficult.
You don't think Southampton are going to go down?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Southampton
them and Bournemouth, yeah.
And then it's one of you
and then
lot.
It's one of either Everton, Leeds, or Forest. I just think they are the next three worst teams, if you like, and I actually put Everton at the top of that three, if I'm being honest, as far as but we keep coming back to it, and Baz is 100% right. It's about goals, and if we don't get goals, well, we'll be just as bad as those other two, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think we are a better squad and better players than the other two.
Yeah, definitely.
But I just think the goals scoring will make the massive difference, and and that has been unacceptable, really, not to be able to bring in a striker and because everybody in the world not even Evertonians, other people recognise that situation, and we didn't for whatever reason.
Awesome. No, I understand, and it's true. And look, hopefully you get a few wins under your belt. You'll want us to beat Bournemouth about 8-0 on Saturday, then, won't you?
100%.
Yes, of course. We will hopefully beat the Cherries. Hopefully we'll beat the Toffees. However, you two, I love talking to you. I could go on for hours and hours and hours. I really do hope you stay up. As much as I hate coming to Goodison Park, I mean, as a team, I've never been. I can't believe I've never been to Goodison when I've been to Anfield so many times.
We're going to have to change that.
Yeah. I know. I'll tell you how, if you stay up, I'm coming up. If it is a weekend, I'm going to come up because I want to come and see Arsenal at Everton. You two have been excellent. Thank you so much. Guys in the chat room. Okay, so thank you, Barry. I was just about to say that. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. It's free. You'll get all our shows straight to your phone with your little, what's it called? Like bell thing, notification. Thank you for being my brain. I'm just all over the place. We're back. The Same Old Arsenal podcast is back next Sunday night. We'll talk about Everton and we'll be previewing Bournemouth. Let's just hope, fingers in your ears, boys, that we've got 6 points by next Sunday. Still top of the league, still going strong, no injuries, and with Jesus to come back, who looked like he was in training today, and I can't wait to see him. Emil Smith-Rowe off the bench. Please God, Party's back tomorrow night, and it's all going to look rosy. But we have 14 cup finals to go, Gooners. 14. We're going to rock the Emirates tomorrow night. I look forward to seeing you all back in the chat room next Sunday night. Barry, Alan, I love you both. You know that. Thank you for your time. I so appreciate it.
Absolutely enjoy it. And you could have done that monologue after you said goodbye to us.
You could have really let us get away with it, couldn't you? But, there you go.
I really couldn't. As Barry says, up the Gunners. Thank you, boys. I hope you stay up. Guys, see you all next week. Always Arsenal. Good night.